A small plane, 2 men, and a mission. That was not just life-threatening, but seems absolutely impossible today. The strange dream of a Las Vegas hotel owner to keep an airplane airborne without touching the ground for hours? No, days? No, but for months. Here, fuel wasn't the only problem. This is a story of sleep deprivation, December's cold, and maintaining a delicate balance between life and death. But the question is, did these 2 pilots actually break this seemingly impossible record, or did their plane disappear forever into the blue skies? A strange incident from history that's now lost somewhere in books. Welcome once again to Docutainment's videos. In 1956, a man named Warren Belove opened his hotel in Las Vegas, which was quite far from the city's other big casinos and hotels because it catered to simple, rural folks. Named Hacienda, this hotel wasn't very expensive, which is why common people preferred coming here. But since profits were low, Warren Belove kept thinking of new ideas to make his hotel famous. One day, his Army pilot friend Bob Tim advised him that breaking a world record could give Hacienda good publicity. He suggested flying a plane that would stay airborne without touching the ground, not for days, but for months. Warren liked the idea, but was it really possible? And most importantly, how would this make his hotel famous? Here, it's important to understand that when airplanes were invented, their flight time was initially recorded in seconds. For pilots and mechanics, what mattered was how long a plane could stay airborne. As aircraft became more advanced, their flight time increased until it all came down to fuel tank capacity. Bigger tanks meant longer flights. In 1923, the U.S. Army solved this problem by refueling one plane from another mid-air. Immediately after, the first endurance flight record was broken. The first world record was set by a DH-4B plane that stayed airborne for 37 hours by refueling 9 times mid-air. After this, a new trend of breaking world records began. America was gripped by endurance flight fever, and in 1929 alone, this record was broken 5 times. But by the time Bob Tim was suggesting this idea to Warren, the enthusiasm for such records had faded, because now it wasn't about testing aircraft limits, but human physical limits. Bob Tim was talking about breaking a world record set in 1949 by 2 Navy pilots who kept an Aeronca sedan plane airborne for 46 days, a mission that received significant media attention. Warren Belove loved this idea to promote his hotel and requested Bob Tim himself to undertake this mission since he was a well-known WW-2 pilot. Tim first bought a Cessna 172 from McCarran Field Airport and hired a mechanic to modify it for endurance flight. First, they removed the co-pilot seat because if Tim had to stay airborne for over a month, he'd need a co-pilot too. They would fly in shifts. They also removed the rear bench seat, replacing it with just an 8-square-foot storage space for essential items. A small sink was installed in one corner of the cabin so they could occasionally take sponge baths in the 4-foot-high cabin. Then they installed a 95-gallon belly tank for extra fuel beyond the wing's capacity, along with an electric winch to pull up the fuel pipe during flight. They replaced the co-pilot's door with a folding door for easier access to the belly tank's fuel port. While hanging from a flying plane seems like something only seen in movies today, it was quite common back then. Even by the 1950s, aerial stuntmen performed scenes where they jumped from one plane to another. To make refueling less dangerous, they installed a small foldable platform outside the co-pilot's door to stand on while connecting the pipe to the belly tank, the only place in the Cessna 172 where one could stand straight, since the cabin only allowed sitting or lying down. They made several engine modifications and painted Hacienda in large letters on the plane, the main purpose of this entire mission. Now came test flights. In summer 1958, test flights began, but problems kept arising. The first co-pilot Tim hired didn't get along with him. During test flights, they often argued. The first test flight failed, So did the second. And during the third, they fought so badly that Tim fired the co-pilot. There were issues with the engine's exhaust valve overheating. They attempted the mission launch 3 times, but failed miserably. Meanwhile, while they were struggling with failed test flights, 2 pilots from Dallas, Jim Heath and Bill Burkhart, had already broken the record by keeping the same Cessna 172 model airborne for 50 days. By December, Tim had resolved all aircraft issues. Finally, on December 4, 1958, with FAI, Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, officials present to monitor the mission, Tim and his new co-pilot John Cook took off and immediately returned to the runway. A chase car applied special white paint to the plane's tires to prevent fraud. If they secretly landed, this paint would wear off, invalidating the world record attempt. After 12 hours, when the first refueling was due, they flew over a predetermined road where a refueling truck waited. As the plane aligned with the road, the truck driver accelerated to full speed. The plane had to maintain minimum speed, about 100 km/h, because the truck couldn't go faster. When Hacienda was just 20 feet above the truck and perfectly aligned, the co-pilot lowered the winch cable. Ground crew attached the fuel hose, which was then winched up and connected to the belly tank port. For 3 minutes, plane and truck moved perfectly synchronized. Any speed variation would be fatal. After refueling, the co-pilot disconnected the hose and threw it down before returning to the skies. To break the 50-day record, this dangerous process would need repeating at least 100 times. Initially, they flew only over Las Vegas in case of emergencies. When everything seemed fine, they started flying over California's deserts too, since higher altitudes offered better fuel efficiency, though with freezing temperatures. The modified doors provided poor insulation, so they opted for low-altitude flying. While low altitudes offered better views, mountains and clouds became deadly hazards at night. The 2 pilots had become good friends by now, passing time reading books, exercising, and chatting during their shifts. Twice daily during refueling, they'd also hoist up essential supplies, water containers, engine oil, and meals prepared by Hacienda's chef. You might wonder, where did their waste go? They had a folding camp toilet with waste bags that they'd later empty over California's deserts, something they never admitted, but the co-pilot's widow revealed after his death. By day 36, fatigue was setting in. They even spent New Year's Eve in the plane, but the cramped cabin and constant engine noise made proper sleep impossible. One night, Tim fell asleep at the controls just minutes before the co-pilot's shift was to begin. Incredibly, he slept for a full hour while the plane flew on autopilot through an unknown canyon at low altitude. A few more minutes, and they might have crashed into a mountain. On January 12th, day 39, a serious problem emerged. The generator failed, cutting power to radios, lights, heaters, and the fuel transfer system. Ground crew sent up a small wind turbine that could only power the radios. For remaining days, they manually pumped fuel. Night refueling became extremely difficult, especially during new moon phases. They solved this by attaching a flashlight to the winch, so ground crew could see where to connect the hose, with a second truck driving ahead with searchlights. Problems kept mounting. The fuel gauge failed, the tachometer broke, and carbon buildup affected the engine. As the January 23rd record-breaking moment approached, Hacienda finally started getting the publicity Beluga wanted. He scheduled flights over major cities and even sent a separate plane with photographers to capture this historic moment. For dramatic effect, co-pilot Cook once pretended to clean the windshield while hanging outside. Newspapers published these photos, drawing national attention. At 3:52 p.m. on January 23rd, they broke the 50-day record. But having endured so much, Tim and Cook decided to keep flying, adding 14 more days. Finally, on February 7, 1959, after 64 days, 22 hours, 19 minutes, and 5 seconds aloft, they requested landing permission at McCarran Field. A huge crowd, including press, officials, Tim's family, and Hacienda staff, witnessed this historic landing. Both pilots were in such poor condition they couldn't exit the plane unaided. Officials confirmed the white tire paint remained intact, proving the plane never landed. In 2015, FAI officially discontinued endurance flight records due to safety concerns, meaning Tim and Cook's record can never be broken. Their Cessna 172 now hangs at McCarran International Airport's Terminal 1 baggage claim area, still telling its incredible story. If you found this astonishing true story as incredible as we did, don't forget to smash that like button and share it with fellow history enthusiasts. Which part of this impossible flight amazed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. For more fascinating deep dives into forgotten history, subscribe to Docutainment and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next adventure into the past. Until next time, keep exploring the unbelievable.